Conversations.
Hello, everyone,
Hi, I'm Nosha,
and I'm Nate.
and thanks for joining the conversation.
So, today's conversation is about toxic behavior and self evaluation, as well as healthy behavior. So, we also have a special guest tonight, Booker T. Spence Jr. III. We'd like to welcome him today.
Thank you.
How you
Thank
doing
you
today?
so much. Man, I'm doing great.
Excellent.
Happy to be here.
I'm glad that you came. Glad that you
Absolutely,
came.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
before we get into the topic, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Most people know me as Spence. My name is Booker T. Spencer Jr.
Okay.
I was born and raised. I'm an adopted child that was given up at birth.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things there,
Got it.
you know.
Got it.
I grew up in a small town called Bay City, Texas,
Basically.
and then moved to Dallas in about 2005, and I've been here ever since.
What about you to Dallas?
Vision.
Vision.
Vision, man. I came here with a purpose.
With a purpose.
And I was telling the young lady as I was talking earlier, Dallas has given me everything that I've came here for.
That's awesome.
So now we're going to another level
Right.
in it and try to take this thing nationwide.
So I like what you said. You said vision and purpose.
Absolutely.
So that kind of ties in. That definitely ties into toxic behavior. So
Right.
let's talk about toxic behavior. What do you what do you define toxic behavior as? What do you think toxic behavior is?
I would have to say it would be anything that takes me out of my state of peace, right? Or anything that makes me react out of my normal character. I think everybody has some level of toxic in them. It's just about who you surround yourself with that will bring that out,
I like that.
and who will draw out the good side of you that's not toxic.
Okay. Spence.
Wow.
Care to chime in? What do you
That's a
think?
good question. Now, I'm going to speak from a 52-year-old,
Okay.
all right, that has identified as toxic behavior.
Got it.
My toxic behavior stems from abandonment. So early on, I didn't know what it was when I reacted, responded. But now that I'm older, I understand what triggers it. And then there's a series of behaviors that come with that. But what I've also found out that toxic behavior stems from the lack of purpose.
Got it.
Purpose is the only thing that can manage behaviors.
It's the compass, right?
Man,
It's the compass, right?
man, absolutely.
So I actually looked up what it was that toxic behavior is, and it's like a negative influence on your life that exploits you and drain your energy with continuous drama. You know what I mean? And so when you speak about purpose, if you don't know your purpose, you'll be kind of susceptible to certain things, and that could be entertaining toxic behavior. I also found that people with toxic behavior, which we all may have some of that, but it stems from like trauma,
Right.
not knowing how to handle
right,
that trauma that you
right,
went through.
right,
And
right.
then so you kind of receive it, you know,
Right.
and then you also can give it as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? So let's talk about the purpose part of it.
Right.
How important is it to have a purpose and a plan behind your purpose?
Oh my God. You can identify people that don't have a purpose because purpose leave clues. Right?
I like that.
Purpose
Yes,
leave
sir.
clues. Let's just give an example. There was a direct intention tonight. This is a clue of purpose.
Got it.
This was done with an intent.
Correct.
So it brought everybody together, audience, video, everything, so
Right.
that it had a specific purpose. And a lot of times what I found that your purpose can be described in one word. And that one word has a definition, which is the characteristic of a purpose.
Got it.
So when you look at the characteristics of that definition, you should see examples of behaviors.
Got it. The one word that describes you enacts behavior, right? It encompasses behavior. So whatever you are described as, whatever that one word is, its action comes behind that.
The
Bottom line.
definition is what you should see.
Right. So let's take it to another part.
So,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. 'Cause
okay, let me understand.
Talk
Okay.
about
Because I'm trying to follow.
Okay.
Okay, so are you saying how you describe yourself or how someone else describes you?
No.
Like, what do you mean?
So I'll give you an example. Let me just do the exercise. Give me one word to describe yourself.
There it is.
Myself,
Yes.
strong.
Strong. Look up the definition.
Okay.
So when you look up the definition of strong, at that point, dealing with me, Spence, okay, I call myself purpose.
Yeah,
I am purpose.
right.
So when I come to you, if I'm looking for a person that's strong, I'm looking for you.
Okay.
Not Nosha, I'm looking for you, who you say you are. There's an expectation of you say that you're strong, so that's what I expect out of you. Nothing more, nothing less. You change your word, I look at the characteristics. So now when I know that if I'm weak, then you're my mate. Now I'm not saying relational wise, but in that specific
General.
purpose.
Right.
Yeah. So whatever if you come in contact with someone, you ask them, give me one word to describe yourself.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. So that's in
I like
the
that.
beginning.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
let's talk about that because I think it's a lot of toxicity in, like, when you meet someone and, you know, I mean, I think it's all based off of like how you see them in the beginning. It's a physical thing, right?
Right.
But when you get to start knowing that person, right, when you have that first introduction, there's a lot of things I think that we miss or that we don't pay attention to. Because somebody can show you and tell you what the answer is, but if you're not feeling that, then you're going to try to turn it into something else, i.e. toxic. So when you meet someone, we had a conversation once before, and it was basically about like when you meet someone and you want to know they got to have a purpose. So you ask them about their purpose, and then you ask them, what's your plan for the purpose? But people aren't doing that. So what do you think is a good tactic, or what do you think is toxic in like the meeting of someone? Like when you meet someone, what is the step that is being missed that people aren't doing, or they're not?
Or how do you see the toxic up front before, going too far?
Oh man, that's a good question. I love it. Great question.
Yeah.
You know what you ask them before you engage? If you're a person of purpose, you ask a person, what are your top 3 core values?
That's deep.
At that point, if they identify their one word, strong, you tell me your top 3 core values. My top 3 core values is accountability, consistency, and fairness.
Got it. Got it.
I operate under accountability. You
Right.
put accountability on me, I'm going to produce.
You're gonna produce. That's
Consistency, I pride myself on being consistency because that's attached to my word.
right.
And I have to treat people with fairness.
Excellent.
Now, in the beginning, I told you that I have no problem with identifying trauma,
Right.
which was the abandonment at childbirth.
Got it.
So I grew up not knowing what was going on with me because of the abandonment.
Right.
The only way I can manage the abandonment at 52 years old is to have purpose and top 3 core values.
Got it. Got it. I want to take it back to something small piece. I love that response. You said if I'm a person of purpose and when I meet you. So let's take it back. If you don't know your purpose yet, should you be meeting people or should you how does that, what do you think about that?
Okay. We're all designed for a purpose. So just because a person don't know their purpose, that's when purpose steps in the room.
Got it.
See, I tell people with a name like, when I call myself Purpose, everybody's not looking for me.
Right.
They may be looking for strong, but they're not looking for purpose. Because purpose, you have to think.
That part.
You have to evaluate. You have to go home and treat your significant other right.
That's
That
okay.
part.
That kind of stuff.
Perfect.
Now, I say this after 2 divorces.
Okay. Tell us about it.
You feel what I'm saying?
I got you. I got you. I got you.
I say this after 2 divorces.
Right.
Now, I say Dallas gave me everything that that I have, but in Dallas County, I got 2 divorces in Dallas
Got you.
County.
Got you.
So this didn't come without a price.
Without a price.
Now I'm so conscious of it. Now I'm saying, when I asked my significant other's father and mother to marry her, I took that to heart.
That was a real.
No matter what, I asked her father and mother to marry her. That means something.
Right.
That's it. So, I understand the topic is toxic behavior, but man, after this pandemic, man, if you got that kind of stuff going on, man, you like, don't you know we just came through a pandemic and you ain't dead?
Right. Maybe.
You, I'm like,
So you
go
got a
ahead.
purpose.
So for me, I feel like, you know, based on what you're saying, it's self-evaluation, right? Like identified,
are.
okay, I had trauma, I had abandonment.
Own
right?
it.
And-
Own it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't do a lot of self-evaluation. And then, you know, I think that sometimes we're so distracted and are always around people and have things going on. But when you do find time to be alone, you know, then you do sit and you self-evaluate. I think that, you know, your mind will start to think. Your mind will wonder, you know, your purpose. Why are you here? Why do you encounter these people? What's happening? What, you know, why, basically. And I feel like I've always been, like, even as a child, I feel like I'm always asking why, right? Like, no one can tell me anything without giving me a reason behind it, right? I need to know why. So sometimes that makes me naturally self-evaluate. Like, dang, you know, okay, why is this continuing to happen? What am I doing wrong? What do I want? What do I really want? What's my real purpose? Like, especially when it comes to dealing with people, because I understand you have a purpose, right? But, you know, there's no way to get rid of encounters. You're gonna have those. So when we say purpose, you know, it makes me not only question my purpose, but my purpose that I have with other people as well.
So
If you go ahead.
I've this has not been easy for me. I've learned that people come into our lives to poke, to agitate, but I found more than anything that these people are sent in my life to grow me up emotionally in a certain area.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like them, if I slow down and think, it's like, why I can't stand this person?
Right. Right.
I call them, these people are on assignment.
And the sun. To grow you up.
So we go through these ages, we go through stages in life where in my 50s, I have to put away my childish immaturity.
Got it. That take
Because I'm like, I'm closer to 65.
Right.
I'm scared as hell of trouble.
Right. Right.
I'm like, man, these my last years to get it right.
Right. One chance to get it right, huh? That's it.
So it's go ahead.
No, you're fine. So how important is self-evaluation and what does it look like? I noticed that you said, Nosha, that like when you're by yourself and you have those moments, it's like something triggers you to want to do self-evaluation. And how do you, I don't know if there's a certain term that's properly self-evaluate, because I just guess it's different for each his own, right? But what does self-evaluation look like? You know, do you write out
For
a list
me-
of things that you say, hey, what do I do, or what do I introduce into something? Like, what is it? Like, how do you self-evaluate? Just like a couple of things that you would say, too.
Well, I would say you have to find the time to be by yourself. You know, and I think a lot of people don't like being by themselves, right? Like, I think that, you know, to me, that's a little bit toxic. I think that, you know, is a feeding ground to not self-evaluate.
What
You know
you
what I mean?
mean?
Meaning like,
Like, by yourself too much?
no, I'm saying if you are always around other people, if
Oh.
you're always distracted,
Yeah, you
right?
can't
You
dial
have to
down from
find,
it.
exactly. So you have to find time to be alone. Like he said, abandonment. You know, if you feel abandoned, then you may have been spending a lot of time searching and around people, you know what I mean, not really taking time to yourself because you feel abandoned. You feel alone.
I'm okay being by myself.
That's
Well,
what
no,
I'm saying.
I'm saying now.
He's
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I'm saying prior to, before you figured out, like, that's why this
Yep.
happened. Do you feel
There
like
you
you
go.
was around people a lot and, like, didn't want to be by yourself? Like,
Yeah, I sought out acceptance. But the little child inside of me was reaching out to say, Mama, why did you leave me? Why did you give me up?
Got it.
And so I left these damaged relationships. I had a trail of damaged relationships.
do you feel like that made you abandon people? Because you,
Absolutely. And see, the craziness of it, you don't know that you're doing this until you identify it.
That's a fact. That's a part of evaluation.
Yep.
Identifying what it is. A lot of us don't identify it. You know what I mean?
And own it.
And own it.
That part.
We
Man.
might know it, but then we'll look in the mirror and
Right.
totally see something else and know it's
Man.
inner. We know it's us, but we
Man.
don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
part of it is acknowledgement, right?
But why do we not want to acknowledge it? You
I
know,
mean,
like,
because
what-
the truth is, for some people, who wants to? I got a question. So, if who you are right now, would you want to date the mirror reflection of you? If you say yes, you're in a good place. But if you can't say yes, then you know why it's hard to identify that, because you don't. There's some things about
I
you
would
that you
say,
just don't
I
want
would say, for me, I would say I'm on the fence. You know, I would say I'm still growing. I still have a
Right.
lot of things that I need to work on, but I do feel good about myself. You know what I mean? At times, I do know, my purpose. I do know, what I can offer to other people, right? Like he said, acceptance sometimes. So I do feel like I would be on the fence. I think that, if you could say, oh, I really want to date this person that I'm with, I think that's almost not real, because I feel like you should continuously be growing, continuously wanting to better yourself.
That's one of the main things I think that people focus on, is fixing themselves to be with someone. Fix yourself to be with you first. Get yourself 100 first, right? Because everybody always talk about 50-50, but like, I don't want to meet you at 50. I want to meet you at 100. I'm gonna be 100 when I come in. You be 100 when you come in.
But what does that look like? Like when people say that, like, for me, I feel like, is that real?
That
Like,
is
is
real.
that realistic?
It
Because
really is.
everybody? I mean, so people who meet other people who have great relationships, you think they are at 100%?
What
of
100%?
themselves?
When I define 100%, it means that I'm not coming to you needy. Like, I'm not coming to you needy. A lot of people come to, like, I don't want to say a lot of people, but when you meet someone, you can tell by how they interact with you and how they move around you, that like, you can tell that they need you for something. If you come in needing me for something, you're not at 100. You know what I'm saying? Need me for things that aren't superficial. Like, need me to care for you, to love you, to like encourage you and motivate you. All the money or whatever, everything else comes after that. But most people are in a state where they're needy, where they don't have what they need, and they see somebody who has it. That's a part of toxic. Manipulation is a part of toxicity. Like, it's people manipulate, you know what I mean? Or they're controlling. A characteristic of toxic is controlling, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to, or manipulation. You want to put somebody in a box that makes you feel comfortable for you to move around. And you're not even letting this person be free to who they are. So I think it comes back to like qualifying the soil. We meet people all the time, but we don't qualify the soil.
Yeah.
We plant seeds in dead ground. There's nothing going to grow from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it comes from like, first you got to know who you are.
Right.
So for me, self-evaluation means not necessarily looking in the mirror, but looking at yourself within and say, what's bothering me?
Yeah.
What have I been ducking off forever that I don't want to face? Face it, acknowledge it, face it, and then like figure out ways to like self-heal or get some like counseling or something
So
like that. I don't know, but
So I
you
have
gotta
a question.
identify first what it is that makes you.
So when
be
you
that.
say, like need, right? Like let's just use the word need. So do you feel like everyone needs someone?
It's deep.
I believe that everyone serves a purpose.
Okay.
Okay. When to use the word need,
That's tough.
need is a tricky word.
Yeah.
And based on your experiences in life and your trauma in life, need means something totally different to everybody.
That's a true statement.
So, as human beings, the human experience, yes, we need the involvement of other human beings. But along that note, what's your age group?
I'm 34.
Okay, cool. So I realized hitting 50s, my 50s, I'm correcting my 40s. In my 40s, I was correcting my 30s. And in my 30s, I was correcting my 20s.
Right.
So the evolution of and especially the environment that we live in now is hard to tell. That's why I say, Nosha, you have to ask people what are your top 3 core values before you get involved with them. Because
Yeah, it
if
is.
not, you won't have no guiding point to say, hey man, what can I hold you accountable to?
Right. I don't know who you are.
I don't know who you
I
are.
don't know what you're coming with.
Who do you say you are?
Yeah, what do you stand for?
But a lot of people are not even asking those questions.
That's the
They-
problem.
But guess what? Guess
That's
what
the
you gonna do?
That's the problem.
As of today, you gonna start asking them questions.
I will.
That's a fact.
As
That's a
of today,
fact.
I will.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some things that are like, I don't know, I want to tap into this. We have, in our community, we have these sayings that we use that kind of like, it sounds cool, but when we really break it down, it's not benefiting us to do that. Like, for instance, you ever heard somebody say, oh, I'm matching energy today?
Man, I was just thinking about that,
Yo, I'm
man.
like-
I know the first thing I was gonna say. It's like, what?
Why would I, listen, so here's how I feel about that. If I'm up here, if my energy level's up here,
Yeah.
and your energy level down here, for whatever reason it is, if you're like antagonizing me or making me feel a certain way, I'm not gonna come down here. I don't want to meet that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna match your energy and give it back to you because it's really a tit for tat mind frame. You know what I mean? So you're not building, you're not growing. You really bringing yourself down, and then you destructing yourself from the inside to build back up. I would never
So
match
if you
your energy
meet someone
if it's
on
positive
different energy levels,
energy.
then how do you
Bring them
understand
up.
that? No, because I'm like, sometimes you're gonna meet people and they're not on your same level. Sometimes you could be low and they could be high, or they
Right.
could be high and they could be low. So why are you attracting that person anyway?
Well, I think like, if you say attracting that person, or are you attracted to that person? I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, just attracting.
If you
because
get-
I mean, if you're coming across that energy,
If you're coming across that energy, if you're coming across that person, everybody puts on a good front in the beginning, right? Like, I mean, everybody's not fronting, but when you meet somebody, that's kind of at their best behavior, right? Like, you're not getting the real them, you're getting like the best them right then, right? So until you dissect them, but that depends on you and who you are. If you know who you are and your purpose, you know the right questions to ask. It don't take 3 weeks for you to figure out who somebody is or what you're doing and how you're gonna go with them. But if you caught off guard by something else, if you're distracted by her looks or whatever like that, then you missing certain things, and that's what we fail to realize. We look at things that aren't really the substance. We look at the superficial side, the stuff that ain't,
surface.
it could change in a day. You know what I mean? But we're not getting, the substance from them. So it depends on you. There's responsibility in this toxic stuff because you gotta know.
Why would you? So if you encounter low energy or whichever,
Well, we
right?
don't want to counter that.
But I'm saying if you continue to deal with it, what does that say about you?
So then you're involving you're toxic as well. Again, it's the double side. Know what I'm saying?
I don't
It's
know.
the
You
double
know
side.
what?
What would
You
you
can
say?
help people, but you can't. I mean, you can assist people. But you can't always help everybody, and you got to know what your purpose is. Because if you know what your purpose is, once you identify certain things, you'll know how to deal with somebody from a
Right, but do
distance.
you just like if it's purpose, right? And you
Right.
encounter them for a reason. Maybe you have a purpose that is tied to
But
them.
notice I said you can't help everybody. You can assist some
Yeah.
people. Help
Yeah.
drains you a lot.
Man, you need to go work at the Salvation Army if you're trying to help people.
Yeah, help
So-
is.
I learned this a long time ago. If it's an encounter, some people may just be having a bad day.
True.
I'm scared as hell now if with driving.
Yeah.
And you don't know if people got guns in their cars
That's
now.
a
You
fact.
like you said, I'm sorry.
That's a fact. That's a
You
fact.
don't know no more the times
Right.
that we live in. So an encounter with a person that may be having toxic behavior, who's to say now that you know that your one word is what? Strong. Who's to say that wasn't your assignment today? Now you have to operate in the fullness of being strong.
That's nice. That's nice.
And that's your assignment for the day. But you can't go down to that level.
Exactly.
You know what? When Nate showed up on the scene, he came to me, and it was about 3 minutes when I met Nate. I said, "Oh, okay, I know what you come for," because I knew he came seeking, but at the same time, he also came to give. I seen the energy, the way he received. That don't happen all the time. But a lot of people are looking for you because you're strong. But as you be strong, you have a lot to give, but you're going to have something that nurtures yourself
Yes.
to replenish yourself.
Self-care.
Amen.
Self-care.
Self-care. Oh, we're gonna get to that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you good. Keep going. You
Okay,
good.
okay.
That's
But you have to know. Look, let me tell you the price of this purpose, man. I had to stop drinking. Man, you talking about somebody, I've been to prison. 4 years incarceration, nobody came to see me. So I've been through crack cocaine. I've been through alcohol abuse. I've been sober 10 years now. I had to stop that.
Congratulations.
Because that behavior triggered some other things into me where I couldn't operate at my full potential.
Got it.
It's some things that if you say that you're strong, there's some things that you have to be aware about yourself that's hindering your progress.
Exactly.
It's really not about nobody else, it's about us. That's the self-evaluation.
Self-evaluation.
Go ahead, Nate.
No, that's perfect. I'm chiming in with you. That's the self-evaluation. You know what
But
I mean?
that's some things, self-evaluation is not something that people really want to do.
They don't.
That because it's too scary, because now you dealing with some stuff. Ooh, not only that, but you tapping in some stuff that's your mama's mama stuff.
Yeah.
Your daddy was a hoe.
There you go, Smith.
And you look suspect. you get what I'm saying? And so you begin to start operating in these certain behaviors, saying, man, why I just feel like I gotta have 3-4 chicks. It just
Just happen. Right. But
So
it's real.
yeah,
It's
man.
real.
You don't know, but you have to evaluate to say, wait a minute. First of all, do you not know? I'm tell you something. This side note, real quick, Nate.
I'm listening.
Okay.
You good.
When I was locked up in prison, man, I took this college course class. Now, mind you, before this, I didn't even know who my parents was.
Gotcha.
Do you not know I was sitting in the college class with my brother and didn't even know he was my brother? Now, when somebody asks me about prison, I tell them, I say, prison was the best years of my life.
Gotcha.
They say, Spence, you crazy.
Right.
I say, no.
What you got?
That's where I met my identity. When I met my identity, now I realize some things about myself. So God always have us on an assignment.
That's it. I'm just gonna say that.
He always have us on assignment. You're serving a purpose right now. I can't speak to your audience, but you can.
Right.
That ain't my assignment.
That is awesome.
That make sense?
God does.
Okay,
have a
Nate,
plan.
go ahead, Nate.
No, that's awesome. And then when God getting you ready for things, He resizing you.
Right.
You know what I mean? He making you fit into a whole different place. So when it takes a while or whatever that you're going through, but when you around certain people, you don't feel the same no more.
Yeah,
You
that
feel
I
uncomfortable.
don't want to hang with that.
Or you somewhere and you like, you know what, this ain't me no more. Don't feel bad about it because He getting you fitted for a new position. And you got to understand it. You know what I mean? And then that's part of self-evaluation and knowing self. So let's talk about some healthy behavior. You know what I mean? Like we kind of leaned into like relationships, and we kind of always talk about that, but because it's like we're dealing with people, but it's not
Right.
relationship intimate all the time. There's interpersonal
Right.
relationship.
Business,
you know what I mean?
friends,
There's business
Right.
relationship
family.
and things like that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
in my mind, well, what do you think, Nosha? What do you think of some healthy behavioral tips for self and then a relationship, and then we can carry it into business as well?
One that's very big for me would be journaling. And like I feel like I've been writing since I was a kid.
Say that again. Journaling?
Journaling.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
writing, right?
Mhm.
Like for me, when I write,
Mhm.
when I read, like it takes my mind to a calm, rationalized place where I can think and operate in Nosha. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes when I'm, dealing with everything else in the world, like I don't feel like I'm operating in
At
Nosha.
100%.
Yes. And so when I do have that time and I write and I read, then I can be myself. I can be calm. I can be understanding. I can learn. Like I feel like I grow when I have those moments.
Got it.
I don't do that all the time. There was a period where I would do it all the time, and I think that at that time I was operating on a really good level. Like when I would encounter people and maybe they would tell me their problems or what's going on, and I'd be like, oh, well, like, let's look at it from a different point of view, right? Like I could see everybody's point of view, right? But when I'm not doing that, you know what I mean? I'm strictly operating from like what I want, what I need, like, you know what I mean? I'm not taking into account other people.
Got you. So you need solidarity.
Yeah.
You need to be to yourself and right and bring you to a calm space.
Yeah.
Spence, what are some? Go ahead.
No, so did you know what you just identified?
What?
In purpose.
Okay.
You said to me that you're a strong journalist. Strong, like to write. You're getting closer to it.
Thank you.
That's that path. That path. What was your question, Nate? I just want to tell it.
No, it's fine. I'm saying, what are some healthy behavioral tips that you could have or that you use for yourself?
Man,
Come
I'm
on.
gonna tell you something, man. I have to learn how to have fun. I'm gonna tell y'all,
No, talk about that.
man,
about that.
man.
Being serious all the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
All the
man.
time.
Because you have to think. See, my past
Yes.
still haunt me because I'm still, and I'm just saying it, I'm still the ex-felon that scared as hell to go back to prison.
Gotcha.
It's some things I ain't finna do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my watch, 10 o'clock. Okay, 10:30. I need to be, you know. I'm that dude that's in the house for 10:30.
Right. Right. I got you.
So,
Just because.
so healthy behaviors, it changes and it evolves at different stages of your life. You know? So, you know, y'all excuse me, that's just I'm gonna cut it off in just a minute.
Okay. Cut
that's
out
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one.
Hold on, I'm cutting it off. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
But I'm learning, what does healthy behaviors look like at 52?
Okay. Okay.
Every year I have to redefine what it looks like now.
Got it.
Because what I like to do at 47, now I like peace.
Got it.
I like to go home and watch Netflix.
Got you.
That's just,
It's
and be in the garden and growing stuff and, you know, stuff like that. I was looking at a mini bike. Like that thing was $7.99. I just felt like I was just relinquished the little kid in me, just like,
Oh, just
"Ooh,
going to get it."
yeah, man. So
have some fun.
healthy behaviors, it changes
It changes.
as you mature, and especially emotionally mature.
Got it.
You know,
Got
so
it.
as your emotions mature, your healthy habits will change.
I like that you said that because that's like an evolving
Yeah, it evolves.
healthy behavior that
Evolves.
you just defined.
You
I
evolve.
like that.
It may be just to love your kids more, your grandchildren more. It don't.
Right.
It just changes.
Right. For me, healthy behavior, I say having great counsel. No matter what age that you at, where you at in life, you always need great counsel.
Right.
Somebody that you can take those issues or problems to, even not just always bad things, the good things too. You
Right.
know?
Right, right.
They give you great counsel, advice, information.
Right.
And they know who you are, and they can handle you with care and give you that information. You know what I mean?
It's funny that you said that. I feel like I told my mom, I was like, I don't feel like you should ever stop mothering. I don't think you should ever stop like brother, sister, like you should never stop, right? Because especially just speaking from
Well, what
mothering,
about cousin?
because
I ain't got no brothers and sisters.
speaking from mothering, because I feel like what you know at your age, I don't know because I'm younger than you, right?
That's
So
true.
so what I'm learning, right? You've already been through. Right, so like,
So.
don't ever stop. Like I know, like sometimes we're like, oh, when our kids turn 18, like they out, they're gone, they grown, blah blah. But right, you still need guidance. You know what I mean? Like continuous guidance, no matter what age you
I like
get.
that you said that because
Yeah.
the human brain doesn't stop growing. I mean, like 18 is the number that the world came up with, but
Yeah.
like 25 is where. No, I'm being honest with
30,
you. The
40.
brain
No,
at
that's
20,
good.
like it's 25 before you. If you kick somebody out 18 and they not ready for the world, they be right back at your door. You know what I mean? So they not really ready. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Another healthy behavior, I believe.
Are we
is,
really raising? And that's another thing too.
We're gonna talk-
we'll
we're gonna
tap
talk
on
about
to-
that.
But like you know,
Yeah.
are we raising our children? To really be an adult, to be, you know what I mean? I was just having this conversation and I was just like, I think it takes a lot of maturity and a lot of responsibility to actually raise a child. Like, anyone can give birth to a child.
Yeah.
But like the mental work, the emotional, the physical, like it takes so much raising a child. And when I see people and they gave up or they don't want to deal with it, because it is hard. But
It's hard.
but that's a part of like why we have children who do feel abandoned. Why we have toxic behavior, why we have trauma, why we have,
children who
you know
don't
what I
feel
mean?
accepted. A parent could be right there in the home and still not be accepted,
that
or
part.
still not be there. Could be distant. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Or
Yep.
present.
Exactly.
Yep.
Another
exactly
healthy-
being present. Like I
another-
learned that sometimes, like just dealing with my children, like because I am distracted, right? I'll have a lot of things going on, but like they teach me to be present, right? Because in those moments when they're like grabbing on you, like mama, 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 and like you thinking about everything else and going about your business, sometimes you ignore them,
They gonna get your
right?
attention.
Right, and then when they finally do, I'm like, okay, what is it? Like, let me just give you just the full attention. And I think that we need to do that with people too, right? Like, I mean adults too, right? Like your friends, people. Yeah, because I think.
Nate said,
Yeah, I mean,
what you mean by that, Nate?
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like when you do open that attention, you learn a lot from people.
but
You know what I
everybody
mean?
is not your assignment, right? And so what I'm saying is, I get what you're saying. Your child is your assignment for sure. You know what I mean? So whenever they pulling on you, you got to give them that attention.
Yeah.
But everybody that's pulling on me, I can't give them that attention. You know what I mean? I can give them a part of something if it's just like, oh, you need to what? Oh, okay, let me tell you something about that. But I can't hold on to that long. You know what I mean? It depends. And really, I'm walking in my purpose, I believe. So once you find that, like you're talking about purpose, a lot of things come your way. If you really moving in your purpose, a lot of people that ain't supposed to be around you are not going to be around you. You're going to move away from them. And a lot of people who are supposed to be in your presence, it's going to come to you. We're going to talk about something.
You know the hardest thing, especially in moving in your purpose, nothing makes me more emotional that when I have to grow to another level and the people that I don't have the association with anymore. It's like I want to bring them in, and I've caused more damage trying to bring people with me in a place that they wasn't prepared to go.
And they won't understand it.
That these people, when I said, okay, well, let me, you notice I'm rolling by myself.
Right. We spoke
I know.
like that.
So I could bring someone, I could be excited to say, hey man, come to this with me, da 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 da. That's not their purpose. And bring them into this, and they'll turn right back around and say, oh, Spence he doing podcasts now, you know, he big baller.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, everybody is not meant to go with you.
Everybody not meant to go.
And that hurts, man, when you have to leave. And sometimes the worst is the family.
It's the family. Ooh, you spoke on something right there. Look, everybody. Ooh.
Can you, and it's more harder for women to detach from family because y'all are nurturers than it is for men.
They are.
We'll walk away.
Rolling. Yep.
But for women, it's much harder because you feel that you're created to nurture and you want to nurture everybody. But like Nate say, you know, you have to learn that everybody is not meant to be nurtured in certain seasons.
Exactly.
And that's some dangerous stuff because we only have, you know, just Nate, real quick.
Go ahead, you got time.
I have this subject that I teach called the 244 principle. You mind?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the 244 principle is, it evolves around the rule of seed time and harvest. So the most productive years in the month is April through September. This is not a time you want to get caught up with distractions.
Right.
Because the principle of seed time and harvest, meaning if you see somebody with toxic behaviors in this season right now, that means they have no seed in the ground.
No. Right.
They
like that.
ain't expecting nothing.
Right. They not planning.
Okay, so the 244 principle, real quick, Nate.
Go ahead. You got time.
Okay, the 244 principles talks about 2 shifts, 4 seasons, and 4 quarters.
Come on with it.
So what happens in 2 shifts? Every year, the time shifts forward and it shifts back. So when time shifts forward, your spirit should shift forward. And when time falls back, well, let me be specific. When time goes forward in the spring, you got 2 shifts in March. You have time going forward and then spring. Your spirit should go forward. You should be preparing to put seed in the ground.
Getting ready for it. Yeah.
Right? So in the summertime, the next season is the summer season. So you should be watering your seed.
Right.
And in the fall is the most busiest time of the year because now you got to gather that harvest.
Gotta go. Yeah,
You ain't got time to talk to nobody.
Right.
The best time for you to catch me is in the winter season. Because my behavior look like the seed that I have in the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah, does that make sense?
That make a lot of sense.
So you got 2 shifts, 4 seasons: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then in the natural realm, you got 4 quarters: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I can look back 3 years ago. This is good about toxic behavior. The deal is about toxic behavior. When you see that toxic behavior show up in someone, that's the manifestation of something that's been going on 4 springs ago.
There it is.
It didn't just start right
It
now.
did not. It's been happening.
Now that person is going through a cycle because they're like the old folk used to say, they out of season.
They out of season.
Don't worry about them, baby. They out of season.
Right.
They ain't got no seed in the ground.
Moving each way, whatever going. Yeah, no plant.
So you begin to start understanding how to manage your purpose through the season. The time and season gives you purpose. So when you ask me about qualifying the soil,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
ask you right now, what seed do you have in the ground? Because when fall comes, we should have a report. We should have a gathering and say, what does harvest look like?
Right.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
If you, okay, right now, this is what? What is this? May?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Right now, you're in the midst of seed in the ground. So when 2023, you done already set the stage for next year through what you're doing right now.
Right now. Got to make sure we're happy with that too.
Nate, I'm sorry, I got off track, man. I get in that thing. Go ahead.
Keep going.
I'm done.
We listening, man.
I'm done.
It's good.
It's really all about, when we talk about behaviors,
Right.
it's about what behaviors do you have that produce.
That produce.
We were sent here for a reason to produce. Produce what?
Right.
What do you believe in God for?
Right.
If you tell me you ain't believing God for nothing, then I'm like, it's time to move on.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? We ain't gonna waste no time because you ain't believing for nothing.
So we ain't got no conversation.
If you ain't believing for nothing, then let me know you ain't got no purpose.
Right.
Now you ask me, I'm preparing right now in my mind, I'm preparing for a $10.5 million conversation.
There it is. Yes, sir.
That part.
That part.
A 10 point, look, when you get through, I need to have 10.5 million in the assets under management.
There it is.
So in my purpose, I'm preparing a conversation of some people that I ain't never met before.
At all.
That part.
You get what I'm saying?
Got it.
So let's just go in purpose and think about this and say, man, does your mind ever say when I walked up to this building, I said, man, how much this building valued at? What does 20% down look like on that?
Right.
And you do these mind games with yourself to take on big problems. That's the only place you're going to see God in your life.
I like that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
You're right. You said big problems. We had a conversation not too long ago. You was talking about figuring out a $2.5 million problem versus a $10,000 problem. I'd rather be working on that $2.5 million problem because if I can get through that.
Because the 2.5, when you have those kind of problems, you have to align yourself with people that's solving $2.5 million problems.
Yeah.
If you're looking for it, go around people. If you're saying you got
Right.
a $50,000 problem, you need to find a person that's got a $500,000 problem.
There it is.
Because he's going to say, oh, that $50,000, that ain't nothing.
That ain't nothing. Exactly.
That show you want to do, oh, we can roll that out across the country.
Right.
But are you prepared for what it is you asking for?
That's it. That's the thing.
Nate, go ahead, Nate.
No, you own it.
Come on,
That's-
Nate, give
I
it,
love
look,
the whole
man.
prepared
Come on
thing. I
with
feel
it.
like, I've always been the type person who is afraid of things. But,
It's okay.
But yeah, and so for me, like, just in the midst of this doing self-evaluation, but I find myself like, digressing things in me to not meet or to meet the environment that I'm in.
Don't do that. I know what you're saying.
Sometimes it's scary to feel like you need to be prepared for something that's way bigger, right? Like you're thinking like, how am I going to handle that? How am I going to manage this? How am I going to deal with the people that I'm with? How are they going to handle it? You know what I mean? Like I think a lot.
It's
and
okay.
And so for me, it's always been scary, like to feel like, oh, what if you go to a different level? What if certain people can't come? What if you know what I mean? Like,
Baby, then you gonna always have that. I got that right now. I'm scared.
But you gotta push through though.
Yep.
You gotta push
Yep.
through. Fear can do one or two things. It can stifle your growth,
Yep.
or it can propel you forward. It got to depend on what you want to do with it. You know what I mean?
and I think you don't ever reach those stages unless you're actually prepared, right? So I
You
know,
don't
like
reach
when I think of those things, that means that I'm not prepared, right? Like I'm not ready for that.
Well, let me say this. So, I figure like you are joining fear to like new levels. Can I say
Yes,
that?
I do.
But the only reason that you're reaching new levels is because you're doing things different. You're achieving. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you're climbing. If you're not hitting no new plateaus or no new levels, then you stagnant. Like I'm saying, and you're not
Not
moving,
moving with a purpose.
You're not progressing. You know what I mean? And then so don't take fear. And I get it. Everybody has fear, but like I said, it can propel you or it can stagnate your growth. Let it propel you. You know what I mean? To the next level.
But then you also, Nate, you also, and I'm just speaking to your age, okay? Because I've been there and I still have them. You want to write out your fears.
Right.
true.
I do that.
Because if you can't write those things, see, writing out your fears is an intimate conversation with yourself to say, you know what? This I have to face.
Right.
I have a fear. Let's just say no. The fear of rejection can paralyze me.
It sure can.
But being half the battle is knowing that you have a fear of rejection.
Knowing is half the battle.
Man, because then that's where faith in God can step in. And he'll send you somebody that's saying, okay, then that's when you'll see favor kick in. All right, I'll meet a Nate. I got a fear about this thing. I'm scared to get rejected. And
Right.
Nate tenacious.
The
See-
one word that described me is
Tenacious. see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I'm purpose and I'm running into fear, I'm going to get Nate.
Yeah. Count on me.
Because Nate gonna be tenacious. Nate, this is what I'm scared about. Oh, Spence, don't worry about it.
Yeah, we
I ain't scared of that.
Right.
You see the
Right.
difference? So we all, going back to what Nate was saying, we all need one another because we all have something of value. And it's not money. Man, you know what?
Money is
People,
a
boy, don't get me started on it. Look, I'm gonna say this, okay, I got it. Nate, when you begin to start hearing people talk about money first, stop talking. Because what happened is, if you show me a person that loves money, I'll show you a person that I can control. Never say that number. If you talk about money, talk about value.
value.
That's funny. I just had this conversation yesterday, and I was just talking about value and money, right? And I was like, for me, I just feel like money shouldn't establish your value, right?
No.
Like just
It
because,
definitely don't.
yeah. And then, for me, I just felt like, society has created that in order to create some type of order or
A divide,
yeah, and
leveling,
right. And that's my
status.
perspective. I feel like because I choose to, I don't know, stay at home and garden, why does that make me of less value than someone who is a multimillionaire, right? Like, why do you have to have millions? And I don't have it because I decided to stay at home, right? And so for me, I just feel like money should not make you feel or create a level of how you value people.
But it's a social norm. See, when it's a social norm and you got people who are built up off of superficial things, like like who doesn't put their best foot forward on social media? Come on, like. But then it's like everything ain't all that all the time, but that's all that you see, right? So then everybody is built up off of that. Like they say, the most people who buy Mercedes are African Americans, but I don't want to be car rich. You know what I mean? Not me personally, but I'm just saying, it's living outside your means. It's not knowing who, like what you're grounded by. I just don't think that money should be that important, but it is based off of how people
That's how I
want.
feel.
But remember, we talking about toxic behavior, right? Self-evaluation. If you feel that you need those things to feel important or be
I think that's
accepted,
an insecurity.
it's definitely an insecurity.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's from what you come from too. You know what I mean? Sometimes, I mean, it really is, and then you can get caught up in the emotion of being that person or being popular or being looked at. You know what I mean? Like people like that attention. People like to be accepted on a high level. People want to be looked at like, oh, I got it going on and this and then the third. But you got it going on the outside, but inside you crumbling.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of things is going on. People
And
are
then, like-
better on the outside than they are on the inside. I'd rather somebody be gardening with a Toyota, and I'm just using those things, but it doesn't matter
Yeah.
really. I'm just saying
Yeah.
to you that I'd rather you be gardening with a Toyota than you be fishing on a yacht with a Mercedes, but you terrible inside. I don't want
Right.
you around. You know what I mean?
And I heard something like where, you know, money just brings out more of who you really are, right? Like, so if you an
Like drinking
asshole,
liquor.
right? Like if you're an asshole or you're controlling or whatever, like when you have money, it's just gonna intensify that level. That's
Gives you
in
that false.
Yeah.
It gives you confidence that you normally wouldn't have, or that you make you feel like you're more important than. But I want to get back to something because we about to wrap it up. So we're going to end again with like the healthy behavior. And one thing I do want to say is mental health. A lot of us don't touch on that. You know what I mean? And like I said, great counsel helps that. If you don't have nobody to talk to, and you got to get that out your head, like who do you go to? So I encourage people to find someone that they trust and believe in to give them great counsel, great information that they can get things off. Because self-care is very important. Mental health is very important, and we don't touch on that. You know
Man,
what
I
mean?
got me a therapist and a counselor.
Talk about that.
Man, the diet that I have to do to keep up a mental sanity today.
And you're not talking about just a food diet.
No.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
begin to start learning yourself to know when you can't talk to people when you hungry.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
like I say, I have a counselor and a therapist, and I don't care. I'll tell anybody.
Right.
You do not want me to not go to my counselor and my therapist.
Come on.
Because I become the very core values that I say I am, I become the opposite.
Got you.
You'll see it. You'll see it.
Right.
So that's why it's so important you're doing that evaluation to identify your one word, your top 3 core values, so you can establish those healthy behaviors, man. So you'll know when you own or when you get yes.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to take a moment to go to the audience and just
Absolutely.
ask a couple of questions. Does anyone in the audience have anything to say or add in?
It was more or less on the lines of going back to identifying who you are and identifying that toxic behavior. I know years ago I had to identify mine. I had to demagnetize myself because I am a nurturer and I do love to nurture people because I was married for so long. And so I began to meet men that I had to nurture and I had to build up, and I had to. So I had to, and I had to evaluate me, and I had to say, listen, girl, really, you gonna keep meeting the same man over and over again. So when I asked God to demagnetize that toxic behavior, that's when I started meeting people with purpose, and not just a relationship as man and wife. Man and woman, we're gonna get together. I started meeting people with purpose. So when I begin to and I love that word, and I use it, demagnetize yourself from toxic. Demagnetize yourself.
Good deal. Anybody? Thank you for sharing that.
Anybody else?
I know somebody got a question.
Yeah.
Somebody got a toxic trait out there they want to handle it. Or does anyone have...
I want to ask, so how how many of y'all feel like y'all actually do self-evaluation? And if you do it, how often do you do it?
Every day, they with my grandbabies.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, do you think that a lot of toxic behavior, so do you think that it comes from your upbringing, or do you think that people seek to be around others like them?
It's a combination. Go ahead, Spence. I got something.
I found that we're all trying to heal the inner child in us.
There it is.
So at any given time, depending on if I'm, sane or not, I end up dealing with the 16-year-old Booker T. Spencer Jr. He comes out. And so when I call it toxic behavior at 52, in actuality, there's a broken child that's inside of me. In its stages. That's why I go to therapy and counseling to identify what those behaviors are. If I don't identify them, then I'll start drinking.
Got it.
I'll start different behaviors. I end up with 3-4 different women. Don't know why. And be married.
And be married. Come on, Spence.
I mean, just
Right.
so I'm saying to you, that's the inner child in me that's coming out.
Well, we're going to bring it to a close. Before we do, I do have.
Oh, that was it?
You want to? Okay, sure.
Happy birthday.
Birthday's yesterday, but you were talking about the 2-4-4 rule, and you said how you plant the seed,
Right.
you water it, and then you harvest it. But what if you're at that point in your life that you are trying to plant the seed and it's harvest season and you don't know how to completely harvest it? What do you do?
Wait a minute. Ask the question one more time. You got my full attention. Say that again.
So you're talking
ahead.
about the 2-4-4
Right,
rule.
right.
So you said like during that season, you know, during that particular month, you have to actually plant it.
Right.
And then you water it
In the summer.
in the summer, and then you're supposed to harvest it in the winter, right?
Right.
But what if you don't complete that harvest in the winter? What happens?
If you don't complete it in the winter,
Like, say that you can't harvest it fully to your full potential
Okay,
that you want it
okay.
to be harvested.
So-
what do you do when it goes back to that seed
So
that you're trying to plant?
what happens is still a cycle.
Okay.
If it didn't show up this year, that don't mean it ain't still
You
growing.
just continue to go.
So what happens is, a lot of times what I've seen is it'll show up in the spring. All right? But that don't mean that it's still not growing. But somewhere, I will tell you, somewhere between March and harvest time, if you look at your months, something you did.
That's something you did.
Something, wait a minute, hold on. Something you did or you didn't do.
Right, there it is.
I can always track my behaviors because I live by 90-day intervals.
So people, okay, so I'm like Nosha, like I like to journal as well.
Right.
To be into my self-evaluation or just reading
Right.
the Bible.
Right.
You know, being vulnerable right now, even on the, just using the restroom. You
Right.
know, so that's, okay. So I just kind of
There's some behaviors, I'm saying, there's some behaviors that you've seen before in yourself. And if you go back to timelines, you'll say, I act like this every March.
Okay. Got you. Okay, now I understand.
I do the same thing. Sharon called me, wanted to go on a cruise.
Perfect.
I knew I didn't have no money. I got seed in the ground, and I done took the cruise. Now I'm expecting the harvest.
Okay, that explains more. Thank you.
And now you said when that season
Now you say it.
got
Right,
it.
yeah, got
You
that.
didn't got it.
All right.
Sorry, Nate.
No, you're good.
Okay.
And we're going to bring it to an end. Before we do, I got to announce something. Holiday Productions is in the building, and we have a play coming up June the 11th. Yes. Very nice. So I'm in it. And but it's June the 11th at the Botanical Gardens, and you can get information as well and tickets. I have them for sale. Spence.
So I have a master class that I teach. It's called Redefining Your Purpose. Our next class is June the 5th. If you want to find out more about that, I do have a flyer, but you can go to BookerTSpencerJr.com and register for the class. So it's June the 5th. It's a 90-minute class, $49. And we're going to go through all the stuff you just heard. We're going to go through that whole process. And when you get through, you'll have a better understanding of what your purpose is.
Now, Spence, can you tell the people what that website is again?
Okay, that website is like my name, BookerTSpencerJr.com. All right, Booker T. Spencer Jr. It's just like Booker T. Washington, but it's Booker T. Spencer Jr.
There
Thank
it
you,
is.
Nate.
No
Thank you,
problem at
Nosha.
all. No
Thank
problem
you.
at all.
Appreciate you
It
coming.
was,
Thank you.
It was a pleasure having you
Yes.
this evening. Nosha.
Learned
by,
a lot.
By the way, you have some nice hair on you.
Uh-oh.
where you get that hair?
Go ahead on. No.
Nate Bundles.
Nate Bundles.
Okay. Which is coming soon this summer. NateBundlesWigs.com is coming soon. Please check in, and we're gonna have a big deal, a big event coming out, and it's gonna be a great giveaway and some prizes. So I'll keep you tuned.
It's not a.
It's a what?
It's not a. It's
not
a.
It's a.
Oh my God.
Tell me.
What's the saying?
Oh, Nate Bundles Wigs and Hair Extensions. It's not just hair; it's a lifestyle. But again, thank you all. Thank you, audience. Thank you, Spence, so much.
Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you for joining us tonight on Conversations. Again, I'm Nate,
I'm Nosha.
and thank you. Have a great one.